Exactly. Good evening, everyone. Um, I would like to call the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office Area Office of Emergency Services meeting to order for April 16, 2015. Roll call, please.
Atherton,
Here.
Belmont,
Here.
Brisbane, Burlingame, Colma,
Here.
Daly City, East Palo Alto, Foster City, Half Moon Bay, Hillsborough,
Here.
Menlo Park, Millbrae, Pacifica, Portola Valley, Redwood City, San Bruno,
Here.
San Carlos, San Mateo,
Here.
South San Francisco,
Here.
Woodside,
Here.
County of San Mateo.
Here. Thank you. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from January 15, 2015. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no corrections or changes, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. The consent agenda, it appears we don't need any action. Captain, are you going to report on the operational area report?
Yes,
Thank you, Captain Kernan. New title for this gentleman. Congratulations.
thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable members of council. Before I begin, I'd like to welcome and recognize 2 new council members to the Emergency Services Council. Councilmember Deborah Penrose from the City of Half Moon Bay, welcome. And Councilmember Wayne Lee from the City of Millbrae, welcome. It's good to have you both as part of the team. Regarding the Attachment A report, just a few things I'd like to report out on. We had 16 Alert 2s at the San Francisco airport. As a reminder, an Alert 2 is an inbound aircraft that has minor mechanical a malfunction, and that's when we stage our fire apparatus on the airport property. And we also had 1 Alert 3, and Alert 3 is an inbound aircraft with a significant problem. And the only other thing I have to report of significance is we had 1 6-alarm fire, and that was in the city of Pacifica, and that was a grass or wildland fire. And Battalion Chief Dave Pucci is here this evening, and he may speak more on that topic. That's all I have to report on Attachment A.
Okay, then we'll move to old business, starting with the JPA revision update.
Thank you. The JPA revision, as you know, this has been near and dear to all of our hearts for the last 2 years. I am proud to report that all the cities have now run the JPA, the revised JPA, through their city councils. We have dates of adoption with resolution numbers. We have since submitted it to the County Board of Supervisors, and we also have a resolution number through the County Board of Supervisors. So a few more steps to go for legality. According to 6503.6 of the Government Code, that directs us to send the JPA to the state. As you know, it was not, the original one was never submitted to the Secretary of State, so it was never recognized by the state of California. So we have since submitted a copy to the State Controller's Office and to the Secretary of State, along with the necessary paperwork. So it is now in the hands of the state of California, and hopefully we'll get some formal response back from them regarding that, and then we can close the loop on the JPA and start following the new procedures. So, and I also, you should all have a copy, and I also emailed a copy of the adopted JPA cities with their resolution numbers if anyone wanted that for their records. So I'll answer any questions now regarding that, if we have any.
Okay, any questions for the captain? Okay, seeing none, that was just an informational item. The next one is Skyline Radio Tower lease update.
We have Gordon Helms from our county ISD here this evening that would like to give an oral report on the, as an update to our Skyline project.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, honorable council members. My name is Gordon Helms. I'm with the Information Services Department. The status of the long-term lease is 99% completed. We need only to lock in the final location of the tower and the shelter with the North Star Memorial Group in order to complete the lease. Why has there been so many delays? The North Star Group has asked us to move the tower and location 3 times during negotiations. All 3 of those times has resulted in either conditions that were unfavorable to the county or it increased the cost beyond our current budget. We met just last week with the North Star, and we have a tentative agreement on a location that's both acceptable to us and to them. As soon as we ink that final agreement, we will get the drawings done, submit them for the final approval of the lease. So we expect this to close before your next meeting. And with that, if there's any other further questions. Sir?
Pradeep?
Yeah, I have been following the development, and I fully agree with you. This has been one of the more difficult project to get started on. But it seems like there have been quite a few sort of mishaps, if you will. What I read in the report was that the understanding where the tower should be moved or the antenna should be moved were not clearly understood by the contractor, I suppose, and produced a location or situation for you where the ground conditions were not suitable for the movement. And then there were some date pressures, like you had to provide some final approvals even before you had the designs done.
Correct.
All in all, I'm just making my uncomfortable feeling about this project in terms of how we are going to maintain our long-term view, because it's an important asset to our communication.
Absolutely agree.
And I'm just wondering if that particular location or dealing with the North Star Memorial Group is going to succeed for this immediate situation as well as for long term.
And so we are looking at signing a 7-year lease with additional options past that. It has been further complicated because the site is also trying to relocate AT&T and Verizon. And so we are kind of part of a larger project for the North Star Group. However, we feel that with this latest conversation that we've had, an agreement that we will not move their road, but the tower's on stable ground, that we can now finally push forward and get the lease executed. That's our very high hope at this point. And with that, we'll at least have 7 years before we would have to re-enter any type of negotiation with them again. But I agree, it has been complicated.
Yeah, and I sympathize, and I'll wait until we hear the next development. But in the meantime, it seems like there was some communication confusion regarding the tower and the antenna with respect to the second design stage. Was it that something went missing, or how did that?
In the second phase, they asked us to move the tower far away from the shelter, which would have required trenching and just really isn't acceptable design parameters. That then started the third design where they pushed us down the hill where the ground was unstable. Now we're back at the top of the hill with the shelter next to the tower, and we feel that if they don't change their mind again, we can get the lease executed. So again, we're hopeful at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I believe that's just an update as well. Okay, we look forward to the next
Thank you.
round. Okay, the next item is San Francisco International Airport JPA ESC update. I know we have some guests here with us this evening. Captain Kernan?
Thank you, ma'am. Right now, the airport is not choosing to join us. However, we have Mr. Rob Forrester, our Senior Manager of Safety, and Mr. Larry Mayers, our Airport Manager of Emergency Services, that are here, and they would like to address the council and answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Forrester and Mr. Maris.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I want to apologize that it's taken a while for the airport to be able to be here in person to address our position regarding becoming a formal member to the Emergency Services Council. I had just a few quick talking points regarding that, and then Larry Mayers, our acting manager for emergency management, is here. If you would like, we can just do a short presentation on the airport and our emergency management program, if you would like.
Okay, why don't you do your comments first, then we'll see if the group would like to have a further presentation.
Okay, sure. So as has been, I think, previously explained through email from our governmental affairs staff and legal staff on the airport's position, there's basically three reasons that the airport is unable to become a member of the organization. The first of all is federal law prohibits the expenditure of airport funds by airports for non-aviation purposes, and this precludes the airport from making a financial contribution to the organization. Secondly, the Airport Commission, being a department in the governing structure of the City and County of San Francisco, lacks the authority to enter into joint powers agreements with another county. And then the final component of that is per FAA regulations, the physical resources that the airport has need to remain on airport to immediately respond to emergencies that may happen at the airport. So again, as outlined by our legal staff, those are the components that went into our position on the inability to join as a formal member of the organization. But again, the airport greatly values the partnership with all of the agencies in San Mateo County and the surrounding areas. We value the partnership that we have, and we definitely want to stay involved with the organization and support in whatever ways that we can outside of becoming the formal member for the reasons that I had outlined here. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and again, at your request, we have a short presentation if you'd like to.
I have one question. I'm sort of curious. I mean, all the members here are city members or county members. I'm sort of curious if the city and county of San Francisco could be the member versus the airport itself and still have the ability to participate, since OES is and our counties spend time at the airport. Our sheriff's department has people there as well. And when it comes to an emergency, we're there to help respond. So I'm just wondering if, did we take the wrong tact? Should it have been more asking the city and county to become a member and be able to expend dollars that aren't airport dollars?
My understanding is that either option would not be permitted, but I can clarify that with our staff and we can get back to you.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, to me, it's a collaboration, and, we already expend a lot of our time, energy, and dollars because the airport actually sits in San Mateo County, and it seems to me it'd be a lot more collegial to have the city and county of San Francisco be a partner in some way, shape, or form. Just as the cities here, even though the airport may not be in their city specific, it's in our county, and they're willing to participate financially as well. I'd maybe send that message back, perhaps to the mayor. Might be appropriate. Any other questions? Yes, Jack.
Well, along the same lines, isn't the city of San Francisco participating on the Caltrain board?
Well, it's a three-county.
It's a three-county JPA, so there is some precedent for that. And then, as I understood from your first point, the federal law prevents the airport using federal funds, right, to use them to contribute towards the JPA, but aren't there other funds at the airport that could be used?
My understanding is that any funds by the airport cannot be used for non-aviation purposes.
Even if they're not federal funds?
Correct.
Kind of overreach, it seems. Isn't there precedent also for emergency services from the airport actually providing assistance during the San Bruno explosion and fire?
Yeah, and that was a little bit part of the presentation that we had, but we do have some flexibility, and that's why we said we definitely value the partnership and we want to support in any way we can. So there are some ways, and that's a perfect example in the San Bruno situation where we do have federal requirements that require minimum staffing levels for equipment at the airport, but in specific situations such as San Bruno, we do have the ability, our command staff at the airport, based upon what our equipment levels are. If we have equipment levels and personnel over and above what our requirements are at the time of an emergency, and there's a specific request for specialized equipment or needs off airport, such as in the San Bruno incident, we do have some limited flexibility to provide some limited support services again, but we can't formalize that and commit to that in a formal agreement, but we do have the ability, and we would in those types of scenarios if there was a mutual aid call and our command staff that was on duty is able to maintain our required minimum staffing levels at the airport, we would be able to provide some of those services.
Well, that's sort of the essence of mutual aid, isn't it? I mean, that we try all to cover for each other, it seems. And we wouldn't expect necessarily that you would draw down your resources to the point where you endanger the safety at the airport. But all the members of the JPA, there is a mutual aid agreement. So anyway, just to share that.
Through the chair and to the supervisor and Jack said, because obviously you're correct in the San Bruno scenario, what Jack just asked. And also when there was a disaster, when the airplane came in, I know San Bruno and other of our neighboring cities, as a team, again, responded. So when you clearly are defining, I know I know you're just the messenger, that it has to remain on the airport. Jack just brought up a case and scenario that it wasn't the case. So again, as the supervisor was saying, it's about mutual aid and it's about working together for the common good. And so I hear what you're saying, but I have some aid that it took this long to figure this part out. Because if it's clear and defined, we should have had an answer long ago. That's the first thing. And the second thing is on the mutual aid aspect and supporting one another, it doesn't seem very cooperative to me.
Yes, Terry?
I recall seeing statistics on the times that our fire departments had come to the aid of the airport, and it was many, many times each year that we did that, and virtually zero on the other side of the airport folks coming to the city's assistance. And I would request that our staff might show those statistics to the San Francisco folks to show what the lopsided mutual aid agreement is, because I really feel strongly that we are helping you and you're drawing a line in the sand and saying that you have very limited ability to help us. And in the case of a major disaster, I think that's just not going to cut it.
Yes, Councilman Lee.
Thank you, through the chair. Is the airport also responsible for the passengers and visitors at the airport?
Yeah, yes.
So in the event of an earthquake and say the airport doesn't have the resources to provide the safety and health for these passengers, you're going to have to rely on the surrounding areas, right? Am I correct? Therefore, you need to spend funding on around surrounding areas to provide this infrastructure. So in case these people don't have what's available at the airport, you need to provide that. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, we obviously through mutual aid and again, the airport does recognize the partnerships and the support of the surrounding areas. From our analysis, from our governmental affairs, again, and our legal staff, formal membership is not something in their estimation and their analysis that the airport is permitted to do for the reasons that I presented.
Okay, well, I just be careful about saying that you can't spend money off the airport property, because to me, when you do that, you're spending money off the airport property. So I understand you're the messenger. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just trying to understand the logic. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? What is the pleasure of the group? Would you like to see a presentation on emergency response or emergency services from the airport?
Yes.
How long is the presentation, do you know?
It's about 5 PowerPoint slides.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and do that? I think it'd be helpful just for us to have
I was going to get offensive.
Thank you. So I'll introduce,
Say something.
again, our acting manager, emergency services,
See,
emergency
according to
management,
that.
Larry Maris.
And then we'll go ahead.
And then we'll go ahead and ask for the presentation. Sorry. No, it wasn't. It was more of a, yeah.
Well, while he gets ready, I just want to say thank you, and thanks again for giving us an opportunity to at least show you what we have. And I'd like to reiterate what Rob was saying. I understand the frustration around why we can't sign on the dotted line, but make no mistake, we are committed to being partners with this body, with emergency services, and sharing resources whenever we're able to. Granted, we're bound by federal law and some FAA restrictions on what we have on the airport property, and I know it's hard to put your arms around that, but it is, one of the struggles we have at the airport that limits us on what we can participate in. But again, no mistake, we're committed to this body, and we are all about partnerships and sharing resources and coming to aid if we can.
Can I ask a favor? It might be helpful for us here. Could we get that in writing, what the conditions are that you can't abide by to be able to join the JPA? That would probably be helpful
We'll
to
get our government
us.
affairs folks and see if they can circle back with you.
That'd be helpful, thank you.
And through the chair?
Yes.
Can it also address why the city and county of San Francisco can't get involved?
Pardon me?
Can it also include the response for the city and county of San Francisco and why they cannot participate?
I'm not sure I follow your question. So I know you guys were asking about the city and county, whether they can join, but if you're asking if they can join to use the airport resources, we're still bound by the same restrictions from the Federal Aviation Administration as to the amount of resources we have to keep on the airport. And it's an indexing thing, size, scope, and what you have to have there. And I'm not the guy to answer those questions. I just want to reaffirm what it is that Rob was trying to say. We understand that there's some frustration around there, and we'll get some folks to circle back and maybe give you the information and clarify some of your questions.
Okay. And the other resource that is always available that we'd be happy to handle is a financial resource. It doesn't always have to be equipment. It could be a financial resource from the city and county of San Francisco. So this group, as they use their resources to help, will be able to continue to survive. So that's another message I'd like to send back.
Okay. And so the presentation was really just to talk about what our resources are here at the airport. And I am the acting manager, recently placed in there. And at first is, of course, at the heart of our emergency operations network is the emergency management team focused on effective emergency management and response through training, multi-agency coordination, and partnerships. So again, we believe in this. We're with you guys on that. We just have some restrictions. This is kind of just a general outline of I know it's hard to see, but it starts with the deputy director, who is Jeff Littlefield, if you haven't heard of him. Ralph Ruckelshausen reports to him. He is our director for emergency services, immediately following with Rob, my boss, and then I am the acting manager for emergency services, and there's a host of other things there. When you think about law enforcement and governmental partnerships, we know all about partnerships. We know all about how to make sure we've got great relationships with multi-agencies. We've got the Department of Emergency Management, which is downtown. So you think about our emergency response, we're aligned with downtown, the EOC, which in fact makes us kind of a DOC to them. So we have some resource expectations just from our own city. San Mateo County OES, mutual aid partnerships with San Mateo. We're working on interoperability, one of the things to help improve our mutual aid response. San Mateo County Sheriffs, we have 4 detectives on site at the airport. We have 150 sworn officers at the airport, 14 EOD canines, 15 specialized officers, FBI, CBP, Coast Guard, FAA, host of governmental agencies that we have to work with, so we understand what that is. On the firefighting side, we have 3 fire stations on the airport, and we're required to have, I believe, 2, but we've got 3. We've got 80 aircraft rescue and firefighting personnel, that is ARF-trained personnel. 4 ARF vehicles. In the case of the San Bruno fire, we're required to have 3 on the airport. We had the 4th, and that is the one where Chief Carnes himself responded to the San Bruno fire. Our fire department conducts monthly company drills, quarterly mutual aid drills, the 101s and the 103s, which many of you are familiar with, and annual full-scale exercises. We have over 229 emergency lockers on the airport, 2 medical buses with triage supplies, soon to be replaced with the brand new multi-casualty unit, MCU, and a medical clinic with 2 rotating doctors on staff, 4 RNs, and 4 X-ray technicians. And in closing, and this is very short, I just want to reiterate that we value, we appreciate the Emergency Services Council members and the services that provide us. I want to assure you that the leaders of San Francisco are equally committed to our continuing support of the council. And as the acting manager of emergency services, I look forward to building on those partnerships with you. And that should do it.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Wayne?
Sorry to prolong this. I didn't see on the list the National Guard because I'm assuming that, to be flying supplies in if we had a major earthquake or something. Is that?
They most likely would use a military base, Moffett or Kent upward, but we certainly would be open to having them. We run drills with DEM all the time, and there's always, mass earthquake planning. They always seem to prefer military installations because they have more space, but they know we're out there as an alternate.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Sue.
Yes, I am puzzled by this, but I noticed that in your presentation you mentioned you're working on interoperability. That sends a red alert to me because we've been talking about interoperability for like 10 years or more. So that's a big concern.
Well, let me clarify. We've actually got interoperability, and we've been actually running drills with San Mateo and 101 drills and testing it out. As you know, when you bring interoperability on, you've got a lot of different people talking a lot of different languages. So we actually have it in place. We're going through the drills and have, as of 2 weeks ago, been running several 3-day drills in a row.
Okay, because I would think being able to communicate with each other is one of the main reasons we wanted you on board. So.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, the fiscal year 15-17 budget presentation. Mr. Narayan Nair, or Captain
Thank you.
Colonel.
Narayan Nair, our CFO for the Sheriff's Office, will be giving the presentation. As I introduce him, I just would like to state that we did meet with our Finance Working Group on March 24th, and 3 key items that were discussed for tonight's presentation was the battalion chief cost for the new fiscal year, the hazmat budget, and the fund balance that we talked about last time. So Narayan will present the budget at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and council members. My name is Narayan Nair from Sheriff's Office, and I've prepared this 2-year budget, and just to give an update on current year budget, the OES and hazmat budget are within budget, and we may not need any reserve funds that was budgeted to be used this fiscal year, which is about $45,000. So that would be a good news. That'll remain in the reserves. The 2-year budget, this proposal for fiscal year 15-16 and 16-17, personnel and operating expenditures increase in both fiscal years. And these budgets are prepared without using any reserve funds. Any increase in the cost have been allocated to the member agencies and the county based on the approved formula. For 15-16 OES budget, the total for 15-16 JPA member agency contributions increased by $112,000, which is about 11% from the current fiscal year. And for 16-17, the increase is only $11,900, which is about 1%. But that'll change depend on the renegotiated Belmont Fire contract and the OES Fire Battalion Chief. For Officer Emergency Services, fiscal year 15-16, the budget increased by $210,285, which is about 13% from current fiscal year. And the big increase is the annual contract for the OES Fire Battalion Chief, which is about $307,000 annual contract. And this year we just had 6-month budget of $154,000, and next year it'll be a full $307,000. And that was an increase of about $154,000 from the current year. $115,000 of that will be covered by the EMPG grant. OES personnel costs increased by $32,000, which is about 5%. This is basically the county's negotiated salary and benefit increases. Service and supplies remain flat. Other charges increased by $24,000, which is about 4%. There were some reductions. Telephone charges reduced by $3,000, which is about 8%, 8.5%. OES office space reduced by $6,800, which is 6.5%. Dispatch after hours callouts reduced by 4%, which is about $187. For 16-17 budget for OES, personnel costs increased by $18,000, which is about 2.8%. Again, this is due to salary and benefits negotiated for the OES staff. Service and supplies increased by $5,600, which is about 1%, and all other costs remained flat. However, the OES Fire Battalion Chief will have to be renegotiated, and depending on the outcome of that, the budget will be revised and brought back to the council. For the HAZMAT budget, 15-16, HAZMAT budget increased by $12,328, which is about 2.5% from this current fiscal year, and this is solely the increase of Belmont Fire contract, and that's 2.5% was built into their contract. The environmental health side of the budget remained flat. For 16-17, again, there is no increase in the environmental health portion of the budget, and Belmont Fire contract will need to be renegotiated. So at the moment, I'm showing it as a flat budget. So depending on the outcome of the renegotiation, the budget will be revised. So those are the two budget for the OES and the HAZMAT portion for the 2 years. And there's on March 24th, when the Finance Working Committee met, they discussed the reserves policy, and they came up with a cap of $300,000. And at the same time, this year's reserve that was budgeted to be used by OES and HAZMAT will not be used, so $45,000 will remain in the reserve. So we have about $228,500 in reserves. So that was the end of the budget presentation.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions? I know I sat on the committee as well as Councilmember Matthews was there. So we felt that this was a reasonable budget. We didn't dip into our reserves. We've, I know the adding the extra fire officer will increase, and we'll have to go through that again next year, but we also have time to see how well that works, and it seemed to be something that OES really wanted to have and felt that was something that was missing, so we felt it was appropriate to move this budget forward to the board here, and so we'd certainly entertain any questions, comments, concerns. Yes, Pradeep.
I agree with the characterization of the chairperson. This is a healthy budget and shows the costs sometimes even going down, and reserve is intact. The question I have was that EMPG grant of $150,000 for 2 years. Is that a sustaining grant, or is that just for these 2 years in the future, or you are not expecting?
The EMPG grant is the Emergency Manager the Planning Grant. It's a matching grant. We use that grant to offset our salaries. Each year, we apply $166,000 to OES staff as a cost savings for the cities. So that's been in place for a number of years. We've been receiving an increased amount on an annual basis. We do not see us losing that. Each year we get a little more. So we had $115,000 that we needed to make a decision on what to do. So we applied that to the battalion chief position. And again, it's a matching grant. I used every dollar I had. So we had $115,000. So the county manager agreed to pay $95,000, and the cities agreed to pay the matching $95,000. So next year, we'll, if we have more than 115, I'll apply more, as long as it doesn't supersede the match, because it has to be 50-50. So we've been very fortunate to continue to receive that money, because it saves the cities in the end the amount. So,
thank you.
If there's a change, I will advise you, and it'll be an amendment to the budget presentation at that point. But again, I don't foresee any changes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I assume you're looking for a motion on this?
Yes.
Okay, since there's no other comments, is there a motion to approve the budget? You have a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none? See, that wasn't so painful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one thing, more comment regarding the budget. As you know, we have two groups. We have the The Finance Working Group, which we just discussed, which helps us set the budget and go over questions to prepare for that you may have. And then a week prior to this meeting, I meet with what I call the Administrative Committee. The Finance Working Group consists of city council members from this board and our chair, which is Supervisor Tissier. And the Admin Committee consists of the city managers and the county manager. During the conversation with the Admin Committee, it was brought up that City Manager Greg Scholes, who's here tonight, participated in the working group, the Finance Working Group, to help explain the hazmat budget and the process and help answer questions as we went through all of the intricacies of that budget. The Admin Committee thought it was a good idea to have a city manager sit on the Finance Working Group, because the city manager sometimes has a lot of experience and more experience than council members when it comes to budgets and looking at the numbers. So City Manager Magda Gonzalez from the city of Half Moon Bay offered to sit as a chair on the Finance Working Group. So I just wanted to advise you of that. So moving forward, when we have that, we'll have a city manager as a chair, along with our continued city council members and Supervisor Tissier. And I don't expect to have another meeting probably till the end of this year, perhaps when we're preparing for the mid-year budget. So I just wanted to advise you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving right along, EMA update. Battalion Chief Bill Euchner? Eichner, there you go.
I answer to Euchner, so. Madam Chair, council members, my name is Bill Eichner. I'm the president of the Emergency Management Association. I just want to share with you a few of the things that we've been working on. We have working groups within this association, and there's quite a few of them. In future meetings, I'll share with you some of those working groups. But right now, one of the big ones is we're trying to get all the cities are pretty much in the same boat of getting an emergency operations plan for each specific city. So we're working on that. Hazard mitigation plan is coming up. Next year, that's going to be due by each city. They actually had a workshop today. Had about 60 folks attended that. So that's all good. There'll be a couple more down the road here. Also, too, we have a CERT work group that mans the tables for the Emergency Preparedness Day, the opening day of the fair. So those are all we're moving along. We can always use some more help if you have some folks that want to come and participate with us. We always welcome them. And we also have next week Silver Dragon. It's an annual CERT exercise that's quite, don't even know how many years it's been now, but it runs quite well. So that's next week, actually, on Thursday, the 23rd. So that's all I have to share. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much. I'll try to remember to pronounce it better next time. So let me take a stab at the next name. For OES Battalion Chief Report, Dave Pucci?
Dave Pucci.
Pucci,
Thank you.
okay. Striking out today.
Good evening. Madam Chair, council members, thank you for this opportunity to tell you what has transpired for the first 3 months of my assignment. It's been a very interesting, very busy 3 months, and I hope my friends in OES still feel that they need a battalion chief in OES. What I want to do is give you a snapshot of some of the project work, some of the integration work I've been doing, as well as some of the incidents, and then tell you what the future plans are through the county chiefs. To start off with incidents, so far I have been to a total of 6 incidents. One was the 6-alarm fire in Pacifica. That same day there was a 2nd alarm fire in San Bruno, and then I've also been to a 3rd alarm commercial fire in South San Francisco, as well as a 2nd alarm fire in Millbrae. The fire in Pacifica resulted in the opening of an evacuation center at the community center in Pacifica. I believe there's about 30 people that evacuated temporarily there before they were allowed to return to their homes. And then in San Bruno, it was a pizza shop that had a major fire inside of it, and it affected some apartments that were right next door, and that resulted in working with Red Cross to provide shelter for 5 residents temporarily from that apartment. In addition to that, I've also been involved in a couple of law enforcement events. One was a SWAT activation in East Palo Alto. That was 2 SWAT teams with Captain Kiernan in charge of that as the incident commander. And those 2 SWAT incidents were happening, and I was there to provide that fire branch if needed. Fortunately, everything went according to plan, so I wasn't needed, and that was a good thing. And then also I responded to what was reported as a shots fired call at a school in Redwood City. I was nearby and I was able to go there, and this is a very good example of why it's important to have fire and police working side by side. In that incident, it turned out to be unfounded, but it did result in a full activation of the response plans for a school shooting, and that involved the moving of 300 students from their classrooms to an evacuation point, reunification. All that happened just as it would if it had been a true event. Even when it is an unfounded event, though, if you move 300 kids under, it was semi-stressful conditions. I mean, I think we had a pretty good idea that it wasn't an active shooter, but still stressful for some of the students. You're going to have a medical aid somewhere. And sure enough, with moving 300 students over there, someone had shortness of breath. We were able to very easily deal with that because we had set up a medical branch and within the incident command structure and work very seamlessly and get that patient transported without any difficulty at all. And it didn't affect the law enforcement response in any way. They were able to keep doing what they were doing. So those are the incidents that I've been. Any questions on any of the incidents from anybody?
No, I'd just like to make a comment on the last one in Redwood City. It's great to see that that's actually working. That was all those plans over the last couple of years with Nancy McGee, the Sheriff's Department, the fire departments. You know, it really shows that if we are well coordinated, we can have the response that's also very well coordinated. And it's really good to see that that actually worked.
It worked very well, and it's also helpful, especially being in this kind of position, as I end up meeting a lot of people from throughout the county. When you're walking up with somebody that you have met before or worked with before, and you're able to integrate much easier, and that's really one of the strengths of this position as well. One of the first tasks I did is I tried to attend basically any meeting that I could, trying to determine which meetings should the fire battalion chief be involved in consistently. Ones that have risen to the top that I'm participating in on a continual basis is on the fire side. You have fire operations, fire TOs, fire chiefs, and then there's a mirror set of meetings on the law side, law commanders, law TOs, and I've been attending those as well. And that's been a very good bridge back and forth to be able to carry information from the law side, trying to get a law rep to actually attend the meetings on the fire side and back and forth. So that has been a good bridge of information. In addition to that, I'm attending the EMMA meetings as well as meetings at SFO. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to work and train with SFO in the future as well on the fire side for sure. On the integration side, there are a lot of different programs that I've been tasked with trying to integrate as we've moved on here. This includes the Marine unit, trying to get the law enforcement Marine resources and the fire Marine resources to work together on the Bay. Tying in with the U.S. Coast Guard also, because the Bay is a very interesting place. When you respond to a location of a boating incident, by the time you get there, it's not necessarily going to be where it's reported. It's going to be where the current takes the incident. So it's very important that we improve and work together, because an incident dispatched in South San Francisco could very easily end up in Redwood City depending on the tides as we're looking for them. So that's been a very good thing. Cliff Rescue also, integration with fire and law, get them to work together and train together and get their systems consistent with each other so they can work seamlessly together. One really important thing that came up is the NICRIC. That's the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center. That is an organization that tracks threats, terrorist-type threats to the local area. And on law enforcement side, there's been a long history of really good, seamless communication back and forth between the NICRIC and law enforcement. And it was really clear that we have a gap on the fire side, that information's flowing really consistently back and forth on law side, but on the fire side, we hear some of it sometimes, but our participation is a little bit different, and there was some information that we weren't getting that was important to us. The fire battalion chief position is actually an ideal person to funnel that information through, because a lot of times there's confidentiality that needs to be upheld, but also to be able to person notify a fire chief or a battalion chief of something that's going on in their jurisdiction that they wouldn't otherwise even know about, and be able to plan successfully for that. So that's been a very good thing. On the training side, one of my goals is that OES become a much more important player in the training side of things. One thing that I've talked to the fire training officers about is being able to provide training through the TOs. It's really easy for me to walk into those rooms and speak to them because I was a TO just 2 years ago. I rotated in and out of that position as well. And I think that OES is in a good position to be able to provide a block of training each year, and this is something we're planning on starting in 2016, where you can use that training block where you have a chance to actually reach out to every engine company in San Mateo County and deliver the same training to them. There's always something going on with OES, whether it be new equipment, new training, whatever the hot button issue is going on that year within OES, it's the perfect conduit to be able to get that information to every fire company in San Mateo County. There's also another mechanism called Chief Officer Continuing Education. And that's something that happens at least twice a year within San Mateo County. And that's a conduit that we could deliver training to the battalion chiefs from throughout the county in one setting and be able to make sure we deliver the same message to everybody at once. Also going to be participating in the 3 county-wide wildland fire drills, getting ready for the fire season, and involved in the Unified Command training that's going to be coming up between law and fire. That's going to be where we get incident commanders from law and fire and go through a training block, and they actually exercise together, as well as Operation Cohesive Capability. Upcoming project work includes a body armor grant that we're working on. We're trying to get ballistic protection for firefighters, specifically with the role of active shooter response, and we're working through that. And then also the fire battalion chief is a good way to funnel all the emergency functions and the annexes that we're going through OES to approve right now, and being able to get that to all the key players within the fire services throughout the county at one time. And then the last thing is auto notifications. Situational awareness is one of the things that we're trying to improve between law and fire. And one of the things that came up when I attended a law meeting was the notification of fire when there's major incidents going on the law side that we might not necessarily know about yet on the fire side. An example of this would be different TAC alerts, code 30s, where there's a big mutual aid response coming to a city. And we're developing right now and trying to implement it in CAD, a mechanism that will automatically notify the battalion chiefs if there's a major law event going on, because of the likelihood that we will be out there shortly as a result of that. So that situational awareness will also apply to boating incidents as well as law incidents, so that way all the battalion chiefs on the base side will be notified if there's a boating incident in an agency next door to them and they have an idea that that's coming up. So that's kind of a nutshell of what's been going on for the first 3 months. It's been very challenging and very interesting. The county chiefs I spoke to, and they are in the process of developing their announcement that this will be open to all the battalion chiefs in San Mateo County in the selection process, and that will be forthcoming.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I think I talk too much. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are doing the integration. Are you also integrating technology as well and in the communications? And how is that going for going between the sheriffs? How do you guys do that, sheriffs and fire, to make sure you're coordinated?
Well, all San Mateo County fire resources are dispatched from county communications. So our communications is already actually right next door to the sheriff. It's in the same room. We have been looking at some technology recently that there is the ability out there to bring different channels together and be able to monitor both channels at the same time. So we do have good interoperability. Really, though, I think the most important thing is when you have an incident such as an active shooter is that you have someone from law enforcement standing there managing their side of the incident, and right next to it you've got a red colored vehicle with a fire guy managing their side of the incident, and they can turn and they can speak to each other and keep that communication over. That's where the strength of working together really comes from. Anytime you get a radio between two people, there's always something lost.
Just happy that we decided to move forward with this. It sounds very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is nothing very specific, but lately I found the traffic patterns on 101 are getting worse during commute time. And I was just wondering if, in terms of law enforcement or fire, in order to reach the places where you need to be in a quick hurry, are these new traffic patterns or traffic problems being looked at in order to find out some solution that could ensure your efficiency and your timeliness without any compromise? Second part of the question was that now we have many of the ramps which are controlled by lights for traffic entering the highway or not. Are those traffic controls connected with your communications so that you can actually influence them in order to make your job more feasible or easier to travel on congested Highway 101?
I can't, for 101, no. The short answer is traffic is what it is. And what we do is, there are certainly times of day, if I'm responding from Station 9 to Redwood Shores as an example, if it's between the hours of 4:30 to 5:30, I'm not going on 101. I'm going to have to take industrial. We have alternate routes we have to be aware of the traffic patterns. There is technology out there that some agencies use, and I can only speak for Redwood City because that's the one I'm familiar with, is a traffic preemption system. And what it is, it's a GPS, or there are light-based systems out there that trigger the signal to turn green in your direction to open up traffic. That becomes really important through downtown corridors. If any of you have been in downtown Redwood City in rush hour, you would know what happens around here. And it can be difficult to navigate through, but that technology is in place down here, and it does help us get through traffic.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jack Matthews because I have to leave for a vigil.
Okay, so now we're on to item 7, hazmat update. And that's Ken Thrasher.
Thank you for having us. Madam Chair's left, Chairman Matthews, and the council. Thanks for having us. I'm Battalion Chief Thrasher from the Belmont Fire Protection District, which also represents your hazmat team for the county. I've been to you before. It's been a fairly, knock on wood, uneventful quarter since last time I was in front of you. The call volume still remains low on an annual basis. We've just taken advantage of that to help us work on several other things in our hazmat area. We're completely revamping and reviewing our SOPs for our hazmat team and how we respond. We've got 2 new members of our fire department, which in turn will become members of your hazmat team. And we're pretty excited about the training efforts that'll go into effect to make that happen. It's a pretty prolonged training event. It's 4 solid weeks of training for these guys. The entire team will participate with that, and it'll happen in the early fall for us. We are also working with North County Fire currently. They've got a fire academy going on right now, and we'll be presenting to them and helping them teach their new recruits the San Mateo hazmat way of doing business. It's an all-day event, and we look forward to it. We get out as much as we can to our neighboring agencies to help them with that. We look forward to participating in the upcoming emergency preparedness event on June 6th at the San Mateo Event Center. We also are participating with the airport quite a bit. We've reached out to them. We've been reaching out for a few years to Chief Carnes, who was referenced earlier. They do have hazmat certified personnel at the airport. Their team is not as complete as they'd like it, and we are working together to get them to a point where we can work together on large hazmat events. They are very labor-intensive events. When you go to a hazmat, we're prepared for most of them, but any extra support we can get, we certainly appreciate. So we are working with the airport on that on an ongoing basis, and we look forward to that relationship growing as we move forward. Other than that, we continue to move along as usual, status quo. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to item number 8, staff report on drought update. Brian Mulver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and honorable members of the council. Just recently, OES Supervisor Matei and I had a conference call with the SFPUC Water Department to discuss their plan for catastrophic business continuity for delivering water to their customers. And as you know, the majority of the cities in the county are a wholesaler customer and they get their water from the SFPUC. Once that water is sold to the operator, their function ceases. So there's no continuity. Once they fix their pipes, the water can only flow when the jurisdiction that receives that water has their piping fixed, and then the water is back on. That puts the onus on the county and the operational area for serving water to the public in that time. And interviewing a couple of other water agencies, water companies, there's not a clear feeling on what their procedures are for a drought and a catastrophic response. So as a result, at the end of this month, there'll be a water summit meeting with all the water suppliers, the state small water users, municipal users, and even mom and pop well operators to discuss the procedures for reporting a drought outage, a water shortage, a fouled well, and also catastrophic response for what is their plan to repair their piping. If mutual aid exists within their water service companies and water service areas, if those companies can help one another in a mutual aid fashion. And that is just a kickoff meeting on April 30th at the Belmont Sports Complex from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., just with those 6 items on the agenda. I think it's a very good place to start, especially with the drought as it's going. We're going to learn a lot more about outages and the services that people may need outside of the wholesale customers that are in our county. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to mention that at our council meeting this week, Cal Water had asked us to accept their emergency plan. I actually haven't seen it because it's not online, but we didn't approve it because we hadn't had a chance to see it. But I don't know if you're aware that they have a plan that they're circulating to their, within at least the Bear Gulch district for approval, maybe in the other districts as well.
Okay. I will get a copy of that plan and look at it myself.
Okay.
And the reason for the summit is to begin updating a potable water plan that our agency made in 2004 when the SFPUC began their rebuild of their piping to make it more seismically safe. And so we've updated that over the years, and right now is a good time to update that potable water plan for the drought emergency. Though it doesn't affect the wholesale customers of the SFPUC, it will affect other agencies. While we're all gathered together at that water summit, we'll address the catastrophic planning as well.
Any other questions?
Brian, can you tell them what agencies are not covered by the SFPUC? So, I mean, what jurisdictions, what towns? Is it mostly just the coast?
It's mostly the coast is not covered by the water service agencies. The coast side is predominantly on their own well, surface, or groundwater.
Just as a follow-up from an earlier meeting, as I recalled, I think it was La Honda area. Some of the areas were really in dire straits. What's their condition now?
Their condition is somewhat improved because of the December rain, but it's going back to drought level again. Martin's Beach was out of water and they were hauling sometime. Water is now flowing in their creek where they draw their water. I talked to them today, and the water operator said they were looking for it to get worse right now. The Drought Task Force, chaired by Supervisor Don Horsley, has met to discuss things to do with CSA 7, which serves a portion of La Honda for water service, on improving the water conveyance, and a plan still exists to contract with Cal Water to haul water to that service area when the creek at Alpine Creek is not high enough to draw from.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So from drought to reviewing what happened, where are we with the December rains, the storm recovery update, Captain Kiernan?
Don't mind if I do.
You look different. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So on the disaster recovery from the 2014 storm, the governor's office did assist with asking for a federal declaration, specifically for the Small Business Administration, to do a disaster loan outreach program, and they were able to help in the order of $700,000 in loans to flood survivors that had property damage. We did allow the proclamation to expire when the governor denied our request for California Disaster Assistance Act funds to help The public assistance, the municipalities recover from costs and supplies that were spent to respond to the flood. That denial was because of the reserves that we have in the county and in the operational area of the cities that requested. And it's an insurance claim, if you will. We always request the full amount of the disaster because we don't know if it's going to worsen with a storm behind it. We don't know what else we're going to discover when we do our damage assessment. So we always leave those claims open. But they were denied because of the reserves that are available to the cities and the county. And we chalk that up to just cost of doing business as a municipality.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. We're going to then to Public Works MOU. Randy Brelot.
Sir, the supervisor left entirely too early with the last name like Tissier. She would have been really proud that she got the pronunciation of Bro correctly. So it's Randy Bro from the city of Brisbane. Good evening, honorable chair and council members. It's a tough one, I know, so I should have had a couple more consonants in there. I'll have to talk to my parents about that. This is an update on the Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement. And yes, you do not have a copy of it in your package. The reason for that is the document in its current form is residing in county counsel's office, and he's trying to reconcile some comments and concerns from a handful of city attorneys. We just couldn't get it cleaned up to the point where we could make a document public and not potentially leave one or more cities with the impression that we weren't taking their concerns seriously. So that's why you don't have it before you tonight. Just a quick reminder on the history of how we got here. A little over a year ago, City and County Engineers Association established a subcommittee of the Public Works Directors from San Carlos, Belmont, South San Francisco, and Brisbane, tasked us with this document. One of the first things we did was heavily plagiarize an existing document that was out there. So we took that, tried to modify it as best we could. For San Mateo County, it's been to the City Managers Association in San Mateo County. It's been past this organization. It's been through the Public Works folks, received some very helpful comments from then Lieutenant Kiernan and Don Matei. Took that out in December and sent it back to the Public Works Directors and asked them to do three things. One, look at it and please tell us that you're okay with it. Number two, have a conversation with your city attorney and make sure that he doesn't see any fatal flaws in it. And three, please make sure your city manager is still on board with this. So of course that happened 3 by 3 in all 21 agencies, right? No, I'm kidding. People don't have the bandwidth for that sometimes, so I'm certain it didn't happen that way everywhere. But no comments were received back. Right at the end of December, right before Christmas, I was able to package it up, send it over to Jim Porter at San Mateo County Public Works. He got it over to County Council in January. The 1st of February, it went out to all of the other 20 city attorneys. He received comments on it for about 2 weeks, and that's where we are right now. We're trying to reconcile a few of those comments. With any luck, I would hope to have it out in 30 to 60 days, and that's hopefully where it's going to be. I want to clarify for you, this document is intended to be a city-to-city document, which is very much in keeping with the same format that the 1994 underlying agreement that we already have in San Mateo County for mutual aid is, and it's similar to the way it's done just about everywhere else in the state. So it's not intended to bring it back here to roll it under the JPA for your approval, but we certainly very much would look forward to your support both here and back at your municipalities. And with that, I'd be happy to take questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bro.
Thank you. Good evening.
Item number 11, mass notification system update. The real Captain Kiernan will be reporting.
I'm still in limbo. I haven't taken the oath of office yet, so you
okay.
can call me lieutenant if you like. That's fine. Just an update on the mass notification system. As you know, the county is currently using the SMC alert system, and that's our brand name. That's actually not the name of the vendor that we contract with. And our contract is set to expire on May 31st. So it was time, and we've had this contract now for 7 years, and I thought it was time to go out to RFP since it is funded through UASI grant dollars. But looking at the regional concept, I worked starting about a year ago. We worked with the County of Alameda, and we drafted a very involved RFP that was asking for the Cadillac of all mass notification system options. We asked for any available technology, all social media platforms, handheld phones with application opportunities, and also we wanted it to be IPAWS compliant with FEMA. IPAWS is the Integrated Public and Address Warning System, which allows for emergency alerting system. We have approximately 750,000 residents in San Mateo County. So in the event we needed to send out one blast message to all 750,000 people or anyone visiting this county from anywhere that has a smartphone, they would get that message. So that was another compliance issue with FEMA. So we drew up this RFP, and we formed a committee with Marin County, San Mateo, Alameda, Monterey, and we interviewed a number of vendors, and Alameda is now in contract with a vendor called Everbridge. Everbridge is a very large vendor who is in contract with the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area that serves over 5 million population, the Sacramento County area. They have a contract with SFO Airport and the County of Monterey. So they're a proven system. We're very impressed with their ability and capabilities. So some of the, what I'm prepared to do now is to piggyback on the Alameda County contract. It's still with County Council, and in doing so, by joining the counties, we'll have more of a regional capability, but more of a situational awareness, where San Mateo County, Alameda County, Monterey County, soon to be Marin County, and San Francisco County and City are now looking at joining in. We'll drive the cost way down on the cost of this, and we'll be able to bring in all cities and special districts into this contract at no charge. The cost will come from the county and the county alone. So it's a great opportunity. Some of the points here that I wrote down. The mass notification system contract will provide a FEMA iPause and wireless emergency alert, fully capable for county agencies and our 20 op area cities. The mass notification contract will direct that the MNS, mass notification system, will be unlimited minutes and unlimited notification groups for all op area users. That's very significant because when we reach our maximum amount of minutes, we get charged. It'll also roll, part of the package will be the TENS or the reverse 911. Right now we contract with a separate vendor for any reverse 911 calls, and those are mostly public health, mosquito abatement. If we have to put out a message to a specific neighborhood or community, we pay the minutes on that. And the minutes add up very quickly when it hits an answering machine, and they have to do an English and then a Spanish and then a second call if no one answers. So that'll all be rolled into the contract. The funding will be provided through UASI grant money and will be at no cost to participating cities and county agencies as long as the UASI funds are available. And we manage the UASI projects, and this is on the top of our list. So, and it always has been because we feel this is very important notification system for preparedness and alerts and warnings. So if we have to drop something, if we have less dollars in the future, then other projects below it will drop, and we don't foresee losing this one. Plus, I think we'll have a significant cost savings since we are joining in with other counties driving the cost down. The cost allocation formula will be developed by the county and cities in the event that UASI funds are no longer available. And again, if that were to happen, I would think that would be years down the road and we would have time to plan. The goal is to make the mass notification system a better deal than they could otherwise get by doing a separate contract with the vendor. I know that a lot of cities have their own contracts. Code Red is a popular system. Everbridge, the vendor who we're looking at contracting with, bought Code Red and they own all their data. So all that data would be integrated into this system for free because they own the data now. So that's a benefit for us because I do know that that's a popular system here. Cities can continue to use their own separate Nextdoor or any other mass notification system that you're using, and you're welcome to join in on this county's in addition. Or if you would like your contract to expire, just join in with the counties, and you could start your own group and subgroup, and we have unlimited hierarchy of groups. So you could have a police group, a fire group, the Office of Education could have their group, school districts would have their groups, schools, principals, faculty. So it's unlimited on how we could use this system. And plus, we would have the ability to have regional groups. So I can get all the SWAT teams in the 12 counties or the hazmat teams or the bomb squad. So we would all have better communication amongst each other in the event something were to happen regionally for situational awareness. And again, we have 4 to 7 counties in our region that are looking at contracting with this vendor. So I think that's a great opportunity as far as the regional picture goes. We are developing a marketing strategy with our county PIO and our OES team, how to push this out. Because right now, we have 750,000 residents. We only have 35,000 users that are subscribed, and it's an opt-in volunteer system. We would like to increase that, and I think the way to do that is to have a good marketing plan. So we are developing a marketing strategy. We have several options that we're discussing. And we're looking at overlapping contracts. Because this current contract expires May 31, and I'm just now going into negotiations with this new vendor, I understand that the time crunch is too tight. So I've met with our current vendor, and they agreed that they'll go month to month with us, and we will continue to go month to month so we can maintain the system that we have in place now, SMC Alert, until we can launch and test and troubleshoot this system before we go live. And we will continue to use the brand name SMC Alert, and the URL for SMC Alert, it'll just be a pointer to the new system. So there'll be no change on the face, and there'll be no change for the community. It'll just be an internal thing with us. And then we'll migrate the existing data that we have now in the system into the new technology. And that's all I have. I'd love to take any questions. I know a lot of people are concerned about this. I think this is a great opportunity for us. What we have today works for us, but I think what's available from 7 years ago to today, there's a lot more options out there with the social media that we know now is super valuable when it comes to communicating with our community and society during an event.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Terry.
So I wasn't aware that the cities had to sign up separately for, I thought everybody just had access to SMC Alert, so they have
Yes.
separate contracts?
No, there'll be,
Okay.
there's one,
Okay,
there'll be one contract, there'll be my contract, OES's contract with the vendor.
right.
And if you want to sign up for groups that we have established now, you're welcome to it. If the city says, hey, I want my own, and I want to send out my own press releases that Burlingame is interested in, but maybe no one else wants to hear about it, then Burlingame can have their own group or subgroups within the city of Burlingame itself. Burlingame Police, Burlingame Fire, Burlingame City Hall, or city employees or school district.
Okay, and I was just gonna say, I do think social media is a great way to spread the word, also kind of recognizing people who bring other folks into the group and, building that sense of community online. I think that's a winner.
Yes, we understood. And during the Boston Marathon bombing, they were getting more information from social media than they were from the news. The news, CNN was actually reporting off of social media, whether it was accurate or not. So it's definitely proven itself to be something that we need to take seriously.
Right. Yeah, if you could put the Caltrain incidents on there, a lot of commuters would be very grateful.
We're going to drop a new opt-in template. An example would be mountain lions. I get a mountain lion call alert every day, every night. And my wife has just had enough with me. But so that's going to be like one checkbox. If you want to hear it, that's great. If you don't want to hear it, uncheck it and you don't get that page.
Oh, great.
So things like that. But
thank you.
there'll be a lot of options, and we'll put out this marketing plan. So once we develop the system, and each city can develop their own system and have their own sign-in page that's different from the county, or you could simply join the county system, or both.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and Jerry?
Captain, what's your best guess for timing for this to be available to San Mateo County residents?
I would like to, since June is our disaster preparedness week for the disaster preparedness day, I would like to launch this in June to make it part of the disaster preparedness marketing campaign. That's my goal. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'm pushing hard to do this. The vendor is experienced, and they can, I think, turn the key very quickly for us once we get through the contract negotiation and legal language that goes back and forth with the attorneys. That seems to be the longest piece is the contract language. And then after that, it'll just be implementing the system. Jeff Norris is very familiar with it, so he'll be helping me with the integration part. And again, we'll work with the city PIOs and the cities once we get this launched. We're also using this for our county employees for callbacks. In the event we had a continuity of operations, continuity of government situation where we had to have 50% staffing, we could use this to call different departments in. So we want to use this for more than just the community, but also for government operations.
Wayne?
Yes, is there any plan to be using visual aids?
Yeah, thank you
with
for asking
this?
the question, because I neglected to mention
Maps,
that.
that sort of thing.
Yes, there is a functional needs piece of this that we interviewed the vendor specifically on. For the deaf, there is a machine that you could purchase that when the message comes, it automatically types it in so they could read the message. And that's something that they've been using. For the blind, they can still hear, so they'll hear the message. And there is the whole functional needs piece to this. So, did I answer your question?
No, it was the way I asked it, I think. Storytelling with maps, a mountain lion seen at 1400 South Cabrillo Highway. It's a lot easier to know where that is if the message comes with a map and a pinpoint on it.
There is an option for attachment. So if we need to attach a PDF file or a link, we'll have the ability to do both. So you can click on the PDF, you'll have a map, or you click on a link and the link will take you to perhaps a Google Maps. So those are both available.
Wayne?
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned that if you get a voice, you can send a message through the message machine. You can do English and Spanish. Can you do multi-languages too for your text messaging too?
It has the capability to do multi-languages. To set that up, I would have to talk with the vendor if that's something that they provide or if that's something that we do. Presently, if we send out a message, I'll use a Spanish translator to type the message in Spanish, and we'll send it out in Spanish. I know Nick Gattuso does that a lot for the coast right now. In English, we're currently not using anything other than Spanish and English, but that is a question that we asked the vendor during the interviews, and that's something I'll have to follow up with, because I know we have a 20% Chinese community in San Mateo County, and that's a significant amount of people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick, you're up.
Don DiMatteo. Doesn't look like Don. Okay, this is about Disaster Prep Day.
Yes. Mr. Chair, council members, we had a planning meeting today for Emergency Prep Day, and was chaired by Supervisor Tissier. Things are going along very well at this stage. We have new exhibitors lining up indoors and outdoors. There's a possibility that we might be able to get a life flight team in there. We had a heated discussion about whether or not the helicopter could actually come out and land somewhere, which I'm voting for, but there are other issues that have to be overcome if that's going to happen, but they have volunteered to come. We talked about what we're going to have in the bags as giveaways. We were talking about a packet to go on your refrigerator that contains medical information on family members. So if an emergency responder comes in your home, they'll know to grab that packet, and whatever special medical needs or information is required for the family will be there. So that's a possibility for one of our giveaways. We have a good amount. We're shooting for about 40 volunteers to come out and help us with the various duties that need to be done during the event. Presentations, signage is going to be about the same as last year. We'll have some electronic signboards directing people, especially to the CPR area, which was going to be handled by Woodside Fire this year. And there will be some other presentations, such as what should be in your home in terms of preparedness supplies, what should be in your go bag in your vehicle or near your front door if you have to get out in a hurry, and things like that. So there'll be a lot of presentations along those lines as well. We have 3 more planning meetings before the June 6th event, and we're looking forward to another very successful disaster prep day.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, where is it being held?
It's at the fairgrounds. I'm old. I say the fairgrounds. The event center, I think, is the current term.
Well, at least you didn't say the floral fiesta grounds or whatever. You know. Okay, any questions? Wayne? I should
Are
just
you-
automatically go to you.
Yeah, I know. Are you guys including neighborhood watch programs too?
You know, I'm not certain about that. The sheriff's patrol personnel is who does that, and along with the individual police departments. So I'm not sure if that's something that we're going to have. Community policing would be involved, yes.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, sorry. Town of Atherton just did a disaster preparedness day, and not to give you any attention to your helicopter, but it creates quite the buzz when a helicopter flies around. And, you know, part of the attraction is to get the kids to you, which gets the parents to you. And it worked for us, and we thank the CHP for allowing us to bring that helicopter in. But it was a bonus, so it'd be nice to see the helicopter.
Thank you for your vote. We're working on it.
Does create a stir, doesn't it? Okay. Onward, item 13, Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, Nancy McGee. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I know many of you have I presented to you at your past meetings, and but for some of you may not be familiar with the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, and I want to just be sure that you're aware that it's three pronged approach to a comprehensive school safety initiative across the county. It involves emergency response. You've probably heard about the Big Five protocol, which is the common 5-action immediate response protocol we have for schools from Bayshore District all the way to East Palo Alto and Woodside, Atherton, the coast, etc. In addition to the emergency response work, that we also have work going on with coordinating mental health supports around the school communities, and we're working on an information sharing protocol with County Council to allow all that work to happen. So there's a lot of work going on, and it's a lot to take on, a lot to coordinate, especially since it's countywide. But we, in order to do that, we have a steering committee, and we've been focusing on building the robustness and the groove of the steering committee. We've been meeting monthly for the last 7 months. The representation at the table of the steering committee is probation, community college, the school districts, private schools, Police Chiefs and Sheriffs Association, OES, the Fire Service, County Council, the Board of Supervisors, County Office of Education, and Health Services Agency. So it's a great multidisciplinary group. There are 3 collaboratives up and running as far as mental health work goes. This is in the north, Jefferson Union High School District, Jefferson Elementary School District, Bayshore, Brisbane, and Pacifica are all meeting together with their mental health providers on a monthly basis. In the central part of the county, we have San Mateo, Foster City, San Mateo Union High School District, Burlingame, and Hilsborough meeting together. And on the coast side, we have Cabrillo and La Honda Pescadero Unified School District. In the fall, we intend to start working in the South County to get those up and running. Those collaboratives meet monthly. In addition, we're working on updating the Big Five emergency protocol to a 2015-16 edition. We're refining the earthquake and gas or hazardous materials response, including gas leak and that kind of thing. We have 6 new school district superintendents starting jobs in the county in the coming school year. So we have to keep on re-educating the new leaders as the seats change, and we also have quite a handful of new police chiefs. So we intend to put an event together in August, bringing the superintendents and the police chiefs together to update on the Big Five in the coalition work. And finally, we will be at the June 6th Disaster Preparedness Day. So I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Great. Any questions? Go ahead, Pradeep.
Just wanted to go over some of the elements that you have just mentioned. There are quite a few things you have made. Yes. One of the things that drew my attention was the protocol you were talking about, where the information between the mental health providers and the law organization and the school organization about particular subjects or particular kids could be shared. The way I understood, there was some legal barriers, or at least perceived barriers about privacy, etc., that were in the way. Now, what is the status of those problems?
You actually will be hearing about this, I would imagine, coming up over the next 6 months, because we will be rolling out the MOU and the Universal Consent Form through County Council, so your city attorneys will be reviewing these documents. But the idea is really that people tend to think that you can't share anything ever, and they go to their opposite corners and nothing ever gets shared, when in fact legally there are things you can share. So the MOU makes it clear in what ways you can share, what you can share, and how you can share. So it's all within the legal framework of what you can do. It's just identifying and making sure that everybody's comfortable with what those things are, and everybody agrees to agree to that, which is basically agreeing to the law. There are exceptions for emergencies, and that's also spelled out in the MOU.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Red Cross update, Isabel Flores.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Council members. Thank you for having me. My name is Isabel Flores. I'm the Disaster Program Manager for San Mateo and San Francisco counties for the Red Cross, and I just wanted to give you a brief update of our recent responses and some of our new initiatives that we're pushing forward. Since January 1st, we've responded to 13 incidents, 11 fires, and 2 police actions. We've served 162 individuals, including 130 adults and 32 children. Broken down by city, in Daly City, we had 5 responses and 22 individuals. East Palo Alto, 1 response and 31 individuals. Half Moon Bay, 1 response and 6 individuals. Millbrae, 1 response, 1 individual. Pacifica, 2 responses, 59 individuals. San Bruno, 1 response, 15 individuals. San Mateo, 1 response, 24 individuals. And South San Francisco, 1 response and 4 individuals. While we have had a bit of a reprieve here since the December storms, San Francisco did have three alarm fires in as many days, and we joined our efforts and did 1 large response for them. We opened a shelter for several weeks and a service center, and served 115 individuals, and over 40 of our San Mateo volunteers supported those efforts, so they have been keeping busy, which is great. Internally, we are working on some new priority areas and programs. Some of them are internal. We're focusing on really strengthening our volunteers, training them, empowering them, and engaging them more to take on stronger leadership roles. We have gone through some internal change, and we have a lot fewer staff, so we really want to promote our volunteers to step up. We have some great external programs that we're pushing out. We have our home fire preparedness campaign. On average, 7 people die every day and 36 suffer injuries from home fires. And nationally, we, the Red Cross, would like to, our aim is to reduce those numbers by 25% over the next 5 years. And we're going to do this by working very closely with our partners in the community, focusing on at-risk communities, and we're going to install smoke alarms. A very key piece to this is also the education part, where we inform family members about their about fire safety, how to use their alarms. We help them plan know their escape plan, and work on educating on disaster preparedness. Our first event in San Mateo is coming up on Saturday, April 25th in Redwood City. We're going to be installing at the Redwood City Mobile Park and Lamar Trailer Park, the ones that were affected by the floods in December, where we're going to be there with our partners from Redwood City Fire, CERT, and Tzu Chi. And we're looking to do a lot more of these. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to roll them out monthly in various parts of the county, working with our partners. We also have our Pillowcase project, and this is a preparedness training aimed at 3rd to 5th graders. It is a way to help them identify ways to stay safe in emergency, how to be better prepared. They learn the science behind hazards and disasters, and the hope is to create a generation of children who are more empowered to take action, and that they're excited to share what they learn about disaster preparedness with their family and friends. The project actually came out of Hurricane Katrina, where a lot of children were seen leaving their homes carrying their positions in their pillowcases. So at the end of the training, the children each get a pillowcase, and they spend some time drawing what their preparedness kit should look like, and then they take it home and share that with the rest of their families. And finally, we of course want to continue, as always, to strengthen our response. We want to make sure that we are always there when we're needed, be it evacuations due to fires or natural disasters, residents displaced from their homes, mass casualty transportation incidents, or first responder canteening. We respond to all the calls we receive, but part of our work is also to make sure that our partners do know about the services we can provide and that they know how they can contact us. So we're going to work on strengthening that. And I think that's it, if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Yes.
Wayne.
Quick, I just want to thank you for your program, and I'm really impressed with your youth service program, YES program, and in our local high school. The kids are really fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I will pass that along.
Any others? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now's the opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on tonight's proceedings? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment.
Excuse me, yeah. This week, upcoming week, we'll have Silver Dragon exercise, which is a health department exercise, primarily looking at contacting vulnerable populations. That'll involve CERT teams going out into the community. The health department will set up their DOC at Red Morton Park, supported by the city of Redwood City. South City's involved, Foster City's involved, we're involved, we're opening up. So it's just kind of an annual drill that we usually have. So just kind of a reminder if you see a lot of folks at Red Morton Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any announcements? Okay, I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Betty Diggins. She's she passed away, and her service, I think, is right now. And that's where Supervisor Tissier is. She had to leave early to go to that service. She was the wife of Sergeant Don Diggins, who was retired from the OES team. Let's all take a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you very much. The meeting's adjourned.